Okay, so welcome everyone to the March meeting of the Tri-Valley Democratic Club. Thank you all for attending today. It's very nice to see you. We're gonna start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to join along, please do. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States of America
and to the
republic
for
which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right.
Let the games begin.
Indeed. So welcome everyone. We have a great agenda today. I'm going to go through a couple of things, but I just wanted to share the agenda with everyone first. Make sure you all have a chance to look it over. As we're going along, I'll put some documents into the chat as well. So if you have your chat open, you'll be able to see, you'll be able to follow along. So if you would like, make sure you have that open, and I'll put different documents in there. So with that, we're going to go through our typical reports for the day. So I just wanted to thank everyone for being here. Open this month up in honor of Women's History Month, and we have for our main guest, Rebecca Bauer-Kahan, Assembly Member Rebecca Bauer-Kahan. She's going to be presenting on her legislative platform, as well as focusing on Bill AB 988, which is very interesting to me. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that one. And then just giving us a little info on kind of, how we can be effective working with our legislators. After that, I want to talk with everyone a little bit about kind of where things are going with the new chairs, as well as the kind of structure of the TV Dems. And then I'm hoping that next month we'll get into it a little bit further as those chairs get established in their roles. I'm going to put them a little on the spot just to say hello, but I don't think, it's a short introduction today. But as always, one of the big things that really is important to me, and I just want to make sure that everyone else is aware, is that for me, the biggest thing is going forward is having people be involved as much as they possibly can. And so as we're going forward with the Tri-Valley Dems, I'm going to be calling on you all to find issues that are important to you, find candidates that are important for you to support, find places where you think that you can be helpful to our community, whether it's volunteering, socially volunteering on campaigns, volunteering for issues, whatever it is that you think the Tri-Valley Democratic Club can help with. And really coming to the chairs that I'm going to introduce later and to myself, and having us help you. I want the club to be a place where we can help you to be more effective in your roles with whatever advocacy you find to be important, and that you can help us by giving us the direction and basically the ideas for where we can best serve the community. I am hoping that as we're going forward, that we really are looking at more local issues, really getting so we can support local candidates, so we can be as effective as we can in the Tri-Valley. So with all of that, I have some other thoughts, but I'll save them for later when we're talking about the chairs and the structure. And so I'm gonna stop screen share for a moment, I believe, and turn over to Alan for the treasurer's report.
Okay, one little thing, if anybody looks at treasurer's report, our year to date from last year is different because we didn't have a meeting in March, so we can only go through February. But with that said, our year to date, we have membership dues of $1,010. Our credit card fees are $36.47. We have one other expense of a web payment for our website of $179.40, leaving $215.87 for expenses. Our balance right now is $2,729.62.
All right. Thank you very much. with that also, I would ask that everyone, if you have not yet paid your membership, or if you know anyone who would like to sign up for the Tri-Valley Dems as a member, we're using those funds and we're looking at the future using those funds to basically, like I said, help support candidates and issues locally. And so, they also help us maintain the general structure of the club, as well as pay some of the needed fees that we have. So if anyone has not paid yet, if you can please pay your dues, and if you know anyone who would like to join, please invite them to a meeting. Everyone is welcome to come for free to the meetings, but we do encourage you to join. I'll put the link up to pay membership in the chat. And with that, Jackie, since you're going to be going through the next part, would you like to share, or would you like me to share?
Sure, I could do that.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, you put it in full screen. Okay, approval of the minutes. Evan did go ahead and send out the minutes to everybody that is on our distribution list. I'm not going to go through them in detail because we do have a full agenda. But does anybody have any corrections or comments regarding the minutes from the last meeting? Okay, with that then, does somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting? Since Ellis?
Actually, it was me.
Oh, I'm
Jeff.
sorry. Jeff.
Okay.
Colvin?
Yep.
Thank you. And is there a second?
I'll
Ron
second it.
seconds.
Oh, you got multiple people seconding.
I heard Kelly.
Yes.
Good.
Okay, and the minutes are approved. Move on to the political director's report, the central committee. And again, that was a very long meeting. I'm going to make this in a fraction of the time. Their meetings are going until like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So they've been very meaty, lots of conversation, lots of comments. This month, there were interviews for the last California Democratic State Party candidates. This one was for controller, April Verrett and Norma Alcala. I would encourage you to go to the Democratic Party's Facebook page, Alameda County Democratic Party on Facebook, and watch these interviews. I hate to provide synopsis of one candidate or another. I'd encourage you to go and watch the interviews yourself. The treasurer report was given. The Alameda County Democratic Central Committee at this time has over $117,000 in their accounts. Normally, this is just approved. The balances are read and it's approved. But this time there was a motion put forth by Lynette Henley for a substitute motion. And that motion was to file it for an immediate audit. The bylaws does state that periodic audits are done. So I think that was an important step that somebody brought that forward. Pamela Price abstained, and she will continue to abstain until time that the audit is complete. And then our own Robbie Kretz from our club and also a central committee member seconded that motion, and that substitute motion was passed. So we'll see. I'm not sure exactly the next steps on that audit. The chair report, Alameda County Food Bank, they raised $7,744.51 with a net gain of $1,310 that will go to Alameda Food Bank. Rocky Fernandez gave an overview on the upcoming CA Dem convention for the delegates, and they're going to have over 4,000 Zoom people on Zoom for that convention. That should be interesting. Delegate ballots are going out no later than March 24th, and then they will be returned by April 21st. The exact rules and how that convention is going to be handled in the nomination process, that is all under, or how the ballots are going to go out, that's all being reviewed. It's my understanding that email, fax, or post office are all options they're looking at, but I'm not sure exactly how that will be managed. So more to come for people who are going to be delegates. There was a mention of a regional meeting that will occur on March 20th for regions 5, 6, and 7. And then the endorsement policy, they mentioned that the chair from the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee and vice chair will not participate in that vote. So they're going to stay neutral as leaders of the committee. It was also mentioned about the chartering rules. They're making all of the clubs, like the Tri-Valley Democratic Club, go through rechartering. So we're in the process of providing them the necessary forms, officer lists, bylaws, roster, and the fee to recharter. Andy Kelly also sent out polls to all the members, including alternates, associates, and club reps, to see their interest in joining the various committees, and I have them listed here. This is a list of the various legislation that has been endorsed by the legislative committee within the Central Committee. Again, for time's sake, I'm not going to go through all of these. You can find this information through the public Google group, by the way, for Alameda County Democratic Central Committee, and they post all of their information there. And then there were 3 resolutions that were discussed. One, to condemn and denounce anti-racial, anti-Asian sentiment in our communities. That passed. Support for immediate hazard pay ordinance. And this going to City Council's Board of Supervisors for frontline workers to get hazard pay during COVID. That passed. And then a resolution to urge Newsom to consider Contra Costa County District Attorney Diane Becton for California Attorney General. That one failed. And I would note that there was quite a bit of conversation about the CalDem process and all of the things that went wrong with the CalDem process. And all that information was taken in, and hopefully the next process will be smoother. Things like people not getting ballots in time. The fact that everything was only available in English was a big complaint. And that's it from the Central Committee. And hopefully the next time we report back, maybe we can pull in one of our representatives who are on the committee to talk more about what the Central Committee does and answer some more questions about the committee. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And I see, Sean, did you have a question?
I just wanted to really quickly mention that our 8016 caucus caucused on the 11th, and we nominated 4 associate members to the Central Committee. These are non-voting members, but they have the privilege of having the floor during meetings, and they can join committees. So I'm proud to announce that we are nominating, I believe all 4 are Tri-Valley Dems members. Asa Strout, Samir Qureshi, who am I forgetting?
Kevin Booth and Sri Mupidi.
Kevin Booth, sorry, yes, and Sri Mupidi, yes. So those are our 4 associate members. Thank you, Samir.
Thank you. Congratulations to all of our members who are now associates.
This is Jeff Nyberg.
Jeff?
The last one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sri what?
the last one that you mentioned, the last name?
Mupidi. She ran for Dublin City Council. Did not quite make it, but ran a impressive.
She's a member, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on a couple of things from the agenda that Jackie covered. By the way, I'm a member of the Central Committee, elected member here in 8016. In regard to the audit that Ms. Henley proposed, it was actually a notation that ordinarily when you approve a treasury report, the wording of the motion is that approve it and file it for audit, just as a pro forma kind of thing. So she was just pointing that out, we should file it for audit. The bylaws state that we, I believe, have an audit every 2 years. Ms. Henley pointed out that it should be at least once a year, but other than that, there is no specific reason for calling for any kind of audit, just, you know, the pro forma wording of the motion, that's all. And then lastly, with regard to the reason why the committee did not endorse Diana Beckton, was because last month the committee endorsed Rob Bonta for the same position. And most of the members felt that we should not endorse two people for that position, leave it to the Contra Costa committee to nominate or endorse whoever they wanted to. So just some clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
That was good to clarify, especially with the audit, because I had a hard time following that vote, to tell you the truth. What was being voted on at that point?
Yeah, just people hear audit and they think, uh-oh, but it's not, an audit was not suggested. It was just merely the wording of the motion.
Thank you. Though I do know Pamela Price would like to see that audit. She made that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. And so there's one more item that's not actually on the agenda, but it is something related to the political director's report that I need to get done today. And so one of the things that is going to be coming up is with the KDEM convention is clubs get to send representatives as well. I don't know how many representatives we're going to get to send. It's somewhere between 1 and 4, maybe 5, but I really don't think so. So it should be between 1 and 4 members that we get to send. It's based on our count for every 20 current members that we have who are registered and this is their primary club, and there's some math behind the scenes, and all of that will be sorted out.
Evan, you misstated that, unfortunately. The club gets voting members for the pre-primary endorsement caucus. Those voting members are not ADEMs. All ADEMs may vote in that, like Jeff Nibbert can vote in that, but the club gets 4 or 5, maybe 6, depending upon the size of our roster. But those people just get to vote on endorsements at the whenever the pre-primary endorsement caucus is going to be held, probably around November. But they do not get a seat or a vote or anything at the convention.
My mistake. Thank you very much. I thought they were able to attend the convention
Well, everybody can attend a convention if you pay some money, but to vote at the convention and be a real delegate, that's another story.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the clarification on that. So we'll find out then, if it's not for this round, then we'll find out later, and I'll table that for the moment. But I have, as an added thing, I believe we have for our district a candidate who is running. And so while it's not an agendized item, so I'm not going to turn over the floor for a long time, I think Jonathan Cook is here. Are you here?
Yes. Hi, Evan. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
hi,
if
everyone.
you want to take just a minute or two, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I am Jonathan Cook, and I am a candidate for the Region 2 Director position with the California Democratic Party. I currently live in Solano County. I'm a member of our Central Committee here, and have lived and worked in both Contra Costa and Solano, and definitely would appreciate the opportunity to speak to you more. I'm going to be hosting a 8016 candidate meet and greet on Sunday. So I'll definitely drop information about that in the chat. But thanks so much for giving me a few minutes. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I believe Jamie Lee is also running for a caucus. Is that correct? If you want to introduce, just take a minute to introduce, say what you're running for. Are you there?
Okay, just unmute. Yep. Hi, everybody. It's Jamie Yee. I am running for the Northern California chair of the Children's Caucus. So there's a NorCal and a Southern Cal and then a main chair, and I'm running for the Northern California chair. So I'll have more info out soon on that. But how the caucuses work is that you actually have to be a member of the caucus. And even if you don't attend convention, you can still vote during the voting portion of the membership meeting of the caucus that happens to take place during convention. So you can join, I want to say it's like $10 or $15, and you can join many caucuses if you want. And I can send the link out to everybody, or Evan, I don't know if you're planning on sending out that link to people so they can look at all the other caucuses, but that's how you would vote. So please join the caucus so that you can vote for me. Thanks.
And just to make sure to clarify on that, anyone can join the caucus, whether or not they are a ADEM or a voting member. So all of you are welcome to join the caucuses if you would like. Correct?
Correct. Any Democrat can join a caucus.
Alice?
Is that right, Sean?
Evan, since you had Mr. Cook speak and he is running for regional director, I happened to speak to Lynette Henley tonight. She is running against him. She's been the regional director for, I think this would be her second term. And I have to tell you, she's done an excellent job and has worked as the parliamentarian also for the Contra Costa Central Committee. And that is certainly like herding kittens. And she's done a hell of a job herding kittens. So just to put in a word for Lynette, since she's not here.
All right, thank you. And Sean?
Yeah, I just wanted to take an opportunity to also mention that I am running for the California Democratic Party Asian Pacific Islander Caucus State Treasurer position.
Wow.
So you can see on my Facebook, I've posted about, we have a tremendous slate. Another 8016 delegate, she's actually also an appointee of Rebecca's, Deepa Sharma, is leading that slate as the state chair for that caucus. It's a great caucus. I highly encourage everyone to join. As Jamie mentioned, you don't have to attend convention to join a caucus and attend caucus meetings, although every caucus has a meeting at every executive board and convention that you can attend free of charge by the virtue of being a member. It's a great way. It's kind of like convention light. If you want to get involved in what is happening at the state party, these caucuses are a really great way for you to get involved and understand what's going on at the state level. So please join the API caucus. You don't have to be Asian Pacific Islander to join, and vote for me to be a state treasurer.
Is there anyone else who's running for a position either in the caucuses or the party? So yeah, just to echo, it is a really great way for those of you who want to learn more about specific issues or really have one area you want to focus on but didn't run for the party seat at large, or anyone who just wants to get more involved and see kind of how all of it works. Joining a caucus is really an easy entry point. It's a small fee. If you're a student, I think usually there's a discount for most of the caucuses, not all of them. But it's easy to get in. It's an easy way to kind of learn a little bit more. And so I would recommend it for anyone. And then if anyone needs any more information, about Jonathan's meeting, please let me know. If you email me, I can get you the information. If anyone would like to be connected with, Lynette as well, please let me know. I can connect you with her as well. And if she's hosting any meetings, I will let you know about that. So with that, I think, are there any questions? Just before we move on, are there any questions about the upcoming convention? I might have to turn these over to Sean, depending on what the question is. But any questions on the upcoming convention, how it's working virtually, how the caucuses will be working virtually, and how you can all better, how you can all attend and get more involved?
I think that you ought to mention that cadems.org, the state party website, if you go, I believe it's the About Us area where it has all of the committees. That's where you can sign up to be on to join one of these caucuses. So the caucuses don't have separate websites. They have pages on cadem.org. You got to kind of hunt around, but that's how you join a caucus. Join a caucus, vote for Sean.
Yeah, also, I believe Jamie put into chat a link that should lead to if you would like to join a caucus. And you can join as many caucuses as you would like. You can join all of them if you would like. So there's no limit. There is, and one of the nice things is I believe, and Sean can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I believe with the virtual format, almost all of the meetings for the caucuses are at different times this year. So they haven't been set, but I think that was one of the, I remember hearing that's one of the goals is so you could, typically you can't attend all of them because they overlap with physical space.
Yeah, it's always been a frustrating thing is there's always 3 or 4 caucus meetings going on at the same time because they have these caucus block times so hopefully they're able to space it out a little better.
Yeah.
The times have not been set yet, but the schedule should be forthcoming.
Yeah, that is the rumor I've heard, that they're trying to spread it out more, but we'll see how that goes in practice. The schedule should come out soon, and the actual date of the convention is, can you remind me? Do you remember? Does anyone know?
I dropped a link in the chat as well to the convention website. It's April 29th, and usually the first night is a Thursday night. That's usually a pretty light day, and then it goes through the weekend, so May 2nd.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, so the 29th to the 2nd. And so, feel free if you would like to attend. It was a great opportunity to learn more about our party and where we're going. With that, I think that's, Sean, do you know, is Rebecca, do you know when she's coming in? I can either move on to another item or if she's.
Checking now.
All right. So again, with that, like I said, I encourage you all to join. I'll give a little introduction for Rebecca, for those of you who, I should say, Assembly Member Bauer-Kahan, should be formal. So for those of you who don't know, she is our local state representative in the Assembly. She's just started her 2nd full term representing us. So she recently won her re-election. This is the time of year right now where the legislative platform for Assembly members is put forward. So all of the Assembly members throughout the state are putting forth bills that they would like to see supported. She has quite an extensive list of bills. It was a really impressive list to read through. I don't have everything in front of me. If Sean has a link to them, that would be great. I'm not sure if he has all of them put in an easy way to put him on the spot.
I don't want to steal Rebecca's thunder. Big part of what she's going to talk about here shortly. And she just texted me. She's wrapping up, running late on her last meeting, but she will be here very shortly. Okay. But she'll be talking about some of her ledge package. And then in the coming days here, we are going to be updating the website with her full ledge package, which will, it's a very exciting ledge package with, good legislation on gender equity issues, on environmental issues, on public safety issues. Again, I don't want to steal her thunder. She's going to touch a little bit on some of her ledge package here momentarily, but we're very proud of the work that she's done to put this together.
Yeah, so it is definitely an exciting package. I think I'm really excited to get to hear, because I don't actually know the details about several of them, and so I'm excited to hear a little bit more. So if you are interested in supporting Assemblymember Bauer-Kahan, here's a link to her website as well. So if you have any interest in supporting her for future runs, you can go there, and you can also learn more about her. And then I'm going to take just a brief moment while we wait for Rebecca. I'm going to rearrange the order a little bit, and I'm going to move on to two bills that we're looking at supporting as a club. We don't have letters attached to these, so it's simply a vote of support on the items. And so they're AB 1400 and SB 752. And just briefly about them, and I can answer questions if you have any, but SB 752 is the Elections Disclosure of Contributions Act. It was put forward by Senator Allen, and it will be basically, it is a bill to strengthen the disclosure laws that we currently have. Ellis went to a meeting on it, and he might have a little bit more to say briefly about it.
Okay, basically what it does is it puts additional words on the ballot, either the ballot that we get in the mail, that we mail in, or the ballot at the poll. It only affects ballot measures, not candidates. And after the ballot measure is stated on the ballot, the three organizations that are the proponents are listed, and three organizations that are the opponents are listed there. So many people feel that if they know who's behind a particular ballot measure, that will determine how they vote. If they see the unions are behind it, the ACLU, League of Women Voters, and they belong to this club, they're likely to vote for that ballot measure. If they see that those organizations are opposed to it, they're likely to vote in opposition for it. Now, those names of those organizations are also in the voter pamphlet, but the voter pamphlet is over 100 pages typically, and most people don't get into the weeds there as far as who backs what measure and so forth. So this would create legislation that would put that on the ballot. It turns out that Senator Glazer is chair of the Elections Committee in the state Senate, and this bill has to pass Senator Glazer. And the idea at that meeting was that various clubs, various Democratic clubs, would vote to endorse this so that we could say the Tri-Valley Club endorses it. A couple of days ago, La Miranda Democratic Club endorsed it, and well, Brody's on this call, I think, but I think that the San Ramon Club is going to vote on that also. So the idea is that we're pushing to endorse it, and if this club endorses it, I've committed to contacting the elected officials that we endorsed in the last election and say, we endorsed you, please endorse this and tell Senator Glazer you're behind it. And I wish that Rebecca was here.
Thank you. And then the other bill, AB 1400, is a pretty straightforward one. It was introduced by Assembly members Carla, Lee, and Santiago. And it is the Guaranteed Healthcare for All Act. And it is basically, if I understand it correctly, it is looking to expand the Affordable Care Act protection to everyone by allowing a public option. If anyone understands the bill better than I do, I sent out the bill text to everyone as well to review. But if anyone would like to speak on it, I welcome them too. if not, those are the two bills that we're looking at endorsing. I'm open to any further discussion about this at this point, if people would like to discuss the bills or motions to support them. As I said, there's no letter attached currently, but it would give, if we endorse it, it would give Ellis or others the authority to basically go on behalf of the Tri-Valley Democrats and say, hey, these are supported by our club as a whole body. So again, the two bills, I will put a link in to the chat also for you to review if anyone would like. All right, there are links to the actual bill text for the two. So if anyone has any questions, discussion, items they would like about them, hit me, I'll do my best. Or if anyone would like to make a motion supporting either one or both of them.
Can I ask a question, Evan? I'm confused as to how a state bill like AB 1400 can add something to a federal bill. You said that this is adding a public option to the ACA. So how is this working?
Here's my understanding of it is, so there's two parts to it. One is what we talked about earlier, which was to have our governor seek for an exemption on how we spend our funds as part of the ACA. So asking to be able to use some of the funds that we're receiving currently to help with providing a public option. And then it would be on the state if we had that flexibility to then use those funds to establish a public option as one of the ways of doing it, in the theory that it's a more cost-effective way of spending the money than currently the scattered system we have on different ways of covering low income or people without insurance. So that's my understanding. If anyone knows better, please chime in. No. Hello, Assembly Member.
Oh, I can hear you. I thought my audio wasn't working. Hi.
There you go. How's it going?
Good.
We were just
How are
talking.
y'all?
We're doing great. We were just talking about SB 752 and AB 1400 to quiz you on numbers that you get.
Oh my God. I was just going to say, I have no idea what you're talking about. SB 752, which one's that?
752 is the New Disclose Act. And
okay.
1400, AB 1400 is the Cholera Guaranteed Health Care Act.
Yeah, I don't know my numbers. I'll confess to all of you. Not memorized all 1400 bills.
So as we're wrapping this up, then if anyone would like to make a motion, I'm open to a motion. If not, we will table it for now.
I move that we endorse both of those pieces of legislation.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Ellis and a second by Valerie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And abstentions?
I'm going to abstain, Evan, just because my boss is here and I don't want her to think I'm trying to lobby her.
I would say that's a good call. All right. So with that, we already gave a bit of an introduction to Assembly Member Bauer-Kahan, but we're really excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We're really excited, and I know I'm personally very excited to learn more about your legislative platform and just kind of how we can support you. So thank you for all you do for us. It's been a pleasure being able to work with you these past several years, and I'm looking forward to several more, hopefully. So with that, take it away.
Well, thank you, Evan. It's fun to be here, and it's fun to see you're the new president, your leadership. That's happened since I was last here. So congratulations to you and to the whole new board.
Thank you.
So yeah, thanks for having me. I'm sorry I was a few minutes late. It has been quite the day, but we were able to pass paid sick leave COVID paid sick leave off the floor today, which kept me in Sacramento a little bit longer, but it was good news. And now it heads over to the Senate, where I'm sure it will get equal support. But you know, it was a good day in Sacramento, and we had to make a few adjustments. Actually, one that's really important for Livermore, we had done relief for our businesses on fees they pay the state. So alcohol beverage fees, for example, we're just like, you're struggling, don't pay us this year. And accidentally we had left out small wineries and breweries. So we added them in today. So we did some good work today. So obviously there's 50 plus wineries in Livermore that benefited from our work today, which is nice. So it is good to be with all of you. And I see some of our local electeds. So I started my day with Christy, and now I'm ending my day with Christy. Good to see you. We had a school board association call today, working together for our students and to get them back in the classroom, which is so critical, as all of you know. So that was how I started my day. So it's fun to be back. And I was just talking to Valerie a couple of days ago. So it's fun to be with our local electeds who are so engaged. So you want to talk? Yes, you asked me to come talk about my legislative package, which I will do. We're really excited about this year's legislative package. Some of it is rollovers from last year. Obviously, COVID had a huge impact on our legislative cycle last year. We had to go down to one hearing per committee because of our recess, and then the way we're functioning in the Capitol. We actually don't have very many rooms where we can hold committee hearings right now because we have to be 6 feet apart. And so a lot of our bills got held last year for lack of time. And so a lot of what we're doing actually were introduced last year, and we reintroduced this year because they are priorities for the district, for me, for my office. But I want to first touch on the budget because it's obviously such an important part of what we do. For those that are paying attention to what's happening in Sacramento, budget season is usually June, right? We pass our budget in June. Now, the news keeps talking about how every week is budget season in Sacramento, and it's true. We've been doing budget actions almost every week to try to ensure that we're keeping the state afloat and heading towards a positive recovery. So today's budget bills, as I mentioned, were passed, but we've continued to pass. We passed last week the Golden State Stimulus, which is direct dollars to our EITC, individuals in California who get the earned incomes tax credit. So some of our lowest income Californians will get additional money straight from the state in addition to what they're getting from the federal government. So the budget is obviously really important. As you know, last year we cut $54 billion from our budget. Wasn't easy. And I was proud of what we came out with. There's no good situation when you have to cut $54 billion. But in the final version, we really were able to protect our seniors, to protect our students and our most vulnerable. And to me, that should always be our priority. And I think we got there. We went into the budget negotiations with the governor asking for 10% cuts to all of our schools. We were able to stop that. We were cutting many of the best programs with the best results for our seniors. We were able to stop that. We were seeing cuts to our health clinics during a pandemic. We were able to prevent those cuts. So although we did do a lot of cutting and there were some harsh results to that, we did get to see a lot of good things come out of those negotiations that I was proud of. So that, as I mentioned, that work continues. We passed a small business relief bill just 2 weeks ago, $1.5 billion in grants to our small businesses. They can apply for $25,000 each to help get them through this pandemic, which is obviously really, really important. And that, again, is on top of what the federal government is doing. I mentioned the $600 stimulus checks to Californians. We're hoping that will help our low-income Californians get through this time when we know they are so concerned about just putting food on the table. And in that package actually was money for our food banks, knowing that we need to pay attention to food insecurity, and it's one of the issues that is most facing Californians right now. I mentioned my call this morning with Christy from Livermore, but schools are a huge priority. We passed last week funding for our schools, both for learning loss, which is really, really critical. As a mom of 3 school-age children, I see firsthand what this is doing to our kids to be on Zoom. It's hard. And we know that some students are falling behind. So we were able to pass funding to allow schools to do more when it comes to summer school and additional assistance for students. And we know that funding is critical in that effort. And we don't want the equity gap, the education gap that existed before the pandemic. We know it's only getting worse. And so we are really focused on what we can do to ensure that we continue to work to close that gap. We also passed reopening funds. So for those schools that get their kids back on campus, there are funds for that. I know that there was a great announcement today out of Oakland that they are able to use the funds exactly as we intended to get their teachers back on campus and get the schools reopened. And so that's the goal, is to support schools in getting our students back, to get the mental health of our students to improve. We know that many have been struggling right now, as well as ensure we're meeting their educational needs. At 5 o'clock today, as Sean can tell you, because our phones were ringing off the hook today, the portal opened to help our landlords and our tenants make sure that our tenants can stay in their housing and our landlords can get paid so that they can pay the mortgage and keep the roofs over the heads of those that are living in them. And that's really important. It was $2.6 billion we were able to pass on to landlords and tenants. And so that became live today. And for anyone who needs information, we do have information on that. And we want to help people access those funds, whether it be a landlord or a tenant. Also, I want to touch on Project Room Key. So homelessness obviously was a huge priority of ours prior to the pandemic, but we've been able to put $1.75 billion in homelessness programs. And the reason I want to touch on Project Room Key, which was our money that was spent renting and buying hotels to just put people in housing, has been incredible. So in Contra Costa County, they came out with the data showing that 50% of the people that entered Project Room Key were exiting successfully into permanent housing or supportive housing or some positive housing outcome. That's incredible to have that kind of outcome coming from a housing program. So what's exciting is we've been able to do some things. We're studying how it's working, and hopefully we can continue what is working. And Project Room Key is absolutely, from the data I'm seeing, one of the programs that has really been successful in tackling homelessness, which isn't rocket science. We're putting roofs over people's heads, and that's what we should be doing. And surrounding them with services as well, which is obviously key. Wildfires. I don't need to tell this group that wildfires didn't take a break for the pandemic. It came right up to your community. I know many people in your area were evacuated during the wildfires. Those of you in Pleasanton had the headquarters of those fighting wildfires right there at the fairgrounds. So we have to keep our eye on the ball when it comes to wildfires. So we're continuing to fund wildfire prevention and pre-positioning of our fire personnel, and making sure that we're, doing what we need to do to fight it, not only because of the safety impacts of it, the lives that will be saved, the homes that will be saved, but also the environmental impact, right? I don't know how many of you saw that article, I think it was just last week, talking about how toxic the air from our wildfires is, even compared to other particulate matter and other toxic air. So it's got to be a huge focus of climate change, of the fight against climate change, and we'll continue to keep our eye on it. And that is the perfect segue into my legislative package, because wildfires are a huge focus of what we are looking at. So AB 21, which was the first bill we introduced this year, is the Utility Accountability and Wildfire Protection Act, fancy name that we gave it. But it's really simple, and I'm working with the Alameda County DA on this. She and I are co-sponsoring this legislation that will give our district attorneys oversight over vegetation management by the utilities. And that is critical, because we know that when they don't do what they need to do to maintain lines and to do the vegetation management, we have wildfires. We have wildfires like the one we had in Paradise that destroy communities and cost lives of individuals in California. And so currently the only regulatory authority is with the PUC and CAL FIRE. And what we want is for there to be local people who are responsible for ensuring that the IOUs are doing what they're supposed to do. So there's no additional regulation, it's just oversight of current regulation. And if they're complying, they have nothing to worry about. They're all opposing my bill. So that tells you something, but just ensuring that we have additional oversight. And I really think it'll make a difference in getting us to where we need to be with the IOUs. And that bill is up in Natural Resources next week. It's our first hearing. We introduced that bill last year, never got a hearing. So we're already doing better this year than we did last year. But it's one of our top priorities. We think it's a really important change to how we keep our the utilities responsible for the work they're supposed to be doing in our communities. Another bill on fire prevention is coming out of actually 2 fire districts in AD 16 have passed an ordinance that requires that when PG&E comes into their territory to do mitigation work, which sometimes involves controlled burns, they have to notify the fire department. That makes sense, right? the fire department is charged with keeping all of you safe and preventing fires from getting out of hand. If somebody's coming into their territory, they should know. Again, PG&E is opposing the bill and opposed both ordinances, but we think it's a really important measure. And again, just making sure that our folks are pre-positioned and ready if a fire were to get out of hand. So hopefully that has no issue. But we'll see. That's also getting its first hearing next week. So the bill that Evan had, I think, focused on in his invitation to me here was AB 988, which I'm not supposed to pick a favorite bill. I'm told I'm not even supposed to fall in love with my bills, but 988 is a huge priority for me in the office. And Evan says it's his favorite. But it's an incredible bill that I'm really excited about, if I do say so myself. So AB 988 would set up a telephone number, functions basically like 911, except not a law enforcement response. So you would call this number just like you call 911, and you would, oh, Alice is showing, we've been getting a lot of press for this bill. So I think the public likes it, which is really exciting. You would call this number, and if somebody you knew or loved, or you yourself were in mental health crisis, and instead of getting a law enforcement response, you would get a response from a crisis support team with mental health professionals. And the idea is really to say that mental health is a healthcare issue. It is not a criminal justice issue, and it should be treated like one, and you should get a healthcare response. And you may need a response team right then, but it doesn't have to be law enforcement, right? It can be mental health professionals. And so we're working with the counties to set up those mobile response teams, and we're setting up this telephone number that would allow for the dispatch of those response teams. And, you know, when you look at the data around what is happening in our communities, 25% of all officer-involved shootings involve individuals who are in mental health crisis. So that's an incredible statement I just made, right? If we can say that that 25% don't even get a law enforcement response, right? We are changing the dynamic of officer-involved shootings in a really dramatic way. In addition, I learned last week the largest mental health provider in the nation is the Los Angeles County Jail System. That is not what our mental health community deserves, for the jails to be their provider of resources. It's true in our area too. And I will answer Jeff's question. So we really want to take this out of the criminal justice realm and put it where it needs to be and get people the care they need. Obviously, this phone number is the first step, this dispatch of mobile response teams. We have to have the beds to support individuals who are in crisis. We have to ensure we have care from start to finish, but this is a really important step. As for funding, the bill is self-funding. It has a fee that mirrors the 911 fee that would cover it, and it would be on your phone bill, and it would cover the entire system. So that's how the funding mechanism works, which is obviously really important right now as we don't know where our budget is going. But it's a really exciting thing, and I think there's such a focus on healthcare and how we should be treating it that hopefully that is something that people are willing to support. That is a little bit, I don't know if there were more questions that night. I saw Sean write something. But yes, I know the Tri-Valley cities are supporting it. Alameda County is moving in this direction, and we're really, really excited about this effort. It was, the idea came out of a discussion I had. I know some of you have been involved with the Miles Hall Foundation. And NAMI is a sponsor of the bill, yes, and the Psychological Association. But the Miles Hall Foundation was formed by Miles's mom after he was killed in Walnut Creek in the middle of a schizophrenic episode by law enforcement. And part of what, as mom talking to another mom who had lost her child, which as every parent on this Zoom knows is her nightmare, her worst nightmare, and hearing the ways that we had failed that family, and she had done everything she could to get him the mental health care he needed. And when he was in crisis, she called 911 because that's who you call, right? And just listening to the ways that we could have intervened prior to even that day, it became clear to me that that needs to be our focus in order to save lives like Miles, right? Is to provide a system that responds and that gives individuals the care they need when they're in mental health crisis. So hopefully we'll pass this bill, and it's a really important step in getting there. I continue to be really focused on gender equity and parity in California. We randomly, looking at the code in the middle of the night one night after Attorney General Becerra was nominated to AG, I was reading the code on what the qualifications were for Attorney General, and I found that our code, as it relates to constitutional officers, is all male. He, despite the fact that over half of our constitutional officers are now women. So we're changing that, because I actually do think it's really important that our code reflect our values, and it shows that women or non-binary individuals, because we're going to gender neutral language, can serve in these offices just as much as men can. And obviously it's a vestige of our history that women and non-binary individuals weren't serving in these offices, but we are now, and we deserve to be there, and the code should reflect that. So I'm working on that with Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis, and it's we think it's going to be a good but easy effort, hopefully. We're also carrying a bill focused again on non-binary individuals that came out of one of my staff in the district office. For those of you who know Katie had a dear friend who passed away who was non-binary. And although you can be non-binary on your driver's license and on most forms in California, after death, you cannot mark yourself as non-binary. The death certificate only allows you to be male or female. And coming out of that experience, she came to us and talked about it. And we decided that one should have the dignity of identifying as they identify, both in life and in death. And so we are moving a bill that would change that, and death certificates will reflect a non-binary individual. If it, one of the things we want to do is respect the person who's deceased. And so it will be, if it was on their driver's license, if they sought that identification in life, then it will be reflected for them in death. And I think that's really important. AB 1287, which is an effort that has been going on probably for a decade in the legislature, but we're going to bring it home this year, you guys. It's the pink tax. So California passed a law that you cannot charge women a different price for services than men. Dry cleaners, massage therapists, any service. But we don't have that for goods. So currently, if you walk into a store, you may notice that gendered goods are more expensive when they are pink or being marketed towards girls or women. Well, in a state where we believe in gender equity, that's no longer acceptable. So we're moving the pink tax, and hopefully we can get parity in what we charge men and women. We're actually doing that in concert with Assemblymember Lowe, who's moving a really exciting bill about department stores and ensuring that there's opportunity to go into a department store and not have gendered departments as well, which a dear friend of mine actually who has a non-binary child was really excited about, because that was one of the biggest struggles for her non-binary child, was deciding which department to go to in a store. And these are things that lived experience I don't have, but I think that we need to be an inclusive society that really reflects who we are and where we're going. So we'll be working together on moving both of those bills to ensure that our stores reflect equity in every way. I saw Jonathan ask a question about a bill. I don't think I've gotten there yet. Should open the chat and look. 439. I've got
I think you already just kind of answered it.
Oh, I did.
About the non-binary markers.
Okay.
But I was having a conversation with Rick Spur from Equality California, and we've been having some issues with local sheriff's departments not being able to collect SOGI, sexual orientation and gender identity data from suicides in California, because they don't have, you know, kind of that guidance from the state as what our local sheriffs have told us. And so I was wondering what you thought about that.
Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't know of that issue, but it's important. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of the work we've done about hate crimes reporting, right? We can't know what's happening unless we're collecting the data, right? And we know that non-binary, that LGBTQI individuals, that suicide is an issue, right? And the more we know about that in the data, I think would be helpful. So if we're not collecting it, we need to do more to do so. And we've run bills on the hate crimes issue, right? So hate crimes, one of the issues was we weren't collecting ethnicity, right? Which then didn't tell us as Californians what was happening in the world of hate crimes. And we've been working a lot on that. And this sounds very similar, obviously a different issue, but just you can't understand these issues unless we work to identify them. So I'll have to look into that. Thank you. So choice, as many of you know, I'm the chair of the select committee on reproductive health. We changed it actually from women's reproductive health to reproductive health. We've done some work on trans, and so we thought that the name should reflect the work, trans issues. So we changed the name, so it's just reproductive health generally. But I'm carrying a bill on security as it relates to those individuals, both patients and the workers in our reproductive health clinics. It is an issue that has always been around, that the safety of those who go into our reproductive health clinics and those who work in it is at risk. And that has only gotten worse in the last few years. And Planned Parenthood anticipates that actually with a friendly administration and legislature in Washington, that could get worse as we continue to move towards better reproductive health. So we're carrying a bill that would ensure that there's training for law enforcement on the issue, that we have adequate penalties for these crimes so that the police show up, and that we are covering actually, and also updating the law, because some of the crimes that relate to some of the doxing and other things that are happening online aren't covered by the code right now. So updating it and ensuring that we're protecting those individuals enough. I talked a little bit about the budget actions we're taking on small businesses, but obviously small businesses are a huge focus for us. 70% of California's workers are in small businesses. We know that in order to recover and protect the California economy, we have to be focused on getting California small businesses through this pandemic and recovering well. So I'm carrying a couple bills on that. One is focused on ensuring that as we've expanded paid family leave, we want to ensure that people have that leave. We don't want our small businesses to be suffering under spurious lawsuits. So ensuring that mediation is actually the solution of choice, so that the workers are getting the rights they need, but that we don't have lawsuits that are harming our small businesses. So that's one of the bills that we're working on. And then I'm carrying AB 1242, which is the Restaurant Recovery Act. It would allow for the next few years for restaurants to continue to do to-go cocktails under the same parameters in the executive order, so that they can use that to try to spur some extra income and that they can get through this, because we know our restaurants have just been hurting so much through this pandemic. Criminal justice reform, we touched a little bit on AB 988, which obviously I see as a huge criminal justice reform measure, but we're doing other things in addition. It's an area I love to work in, and I think there's a lot of work to do in. One is we have moved, as some of you may know, we moved the juvenile justice system out into the Department of Social Services, which was a really positive move to take it out of sort of the criminal realm and put it into social services. One of the concerns coming out of that, though, is that judges, now that DJJ is gone, they will move more youth into adult court and put them into the adult system rather than treating them as juveniles. And so we're fixing the appeals process for juveniles who are transferred to adult court, ensuring that they don't lose the right to appeal that decision. It's a really important decision for our juveniles. There are huge implications to being charged as an adult in adult court, and they should have a right to appeal that. And we're protecting that and ensuring that happens. I'm re-carrying my bill that the governor vetoed last year. We still don't really understand why he vetoed it, so we're continuing to work with the governor's office, but AB 731 is a reporting bill on recidivism. So it's asking counties, how are you spending these dollars we're giving to you that are meant to prevent recidivism? What programs are they going to, and what are the outcomes? Are you actually preventing recidivism? And we think it's a smart spending measure. Tell us how you're spending your money and let's spend it on the things that are working. We think it would help improve lower recidivism rates, and the governor vetoed it. So we're going to carry it again, and we're hoping to figure out how we can prevent that, because we think it's an important step in ensuring that we have better outcomes coming out of prison. These are great, some are great programs, and some we think aren't having the outcomes we want. Let's spend our money where we're actually going to get the results that are best for everybody. Focusing a little bit on consumer protection, I won't go too far into that, but people are having to take out a lot of loans and access money, and we continue to focus on how we can protect consumers through that, through the pandemic. The last area that I'll touch on is environmental. As you know, it's my background, it's my passion. Climate change is one of the most important, if not the most important issue facing this generation. And so I'm continuing to spend a lot of my effort working in that space. So there's an exciting bill I'm working with the Bay Area Air Quality Resource District on, which is a data collection bill, allowing them to collect data as it relates to mobile sources of pollution. Currently, that's left just to the California board. And what we really want is to give our local authorities the ability to collect that data and make changes to improve air quality in our communities. In Livermore, you're getting an Amazon distribution center. That's happening in communities across our area and across California. And we want to understand how that's affecting the air quality in your community and work to ensure that we're mitigating those impacts, because we know and we are seeing right now that the health impacts are real. People are dying in communities of color right now because they live in communities where the air quality is not as good. And so we need to understand it, and we need to put our resources where we can to ensure that we're lowering those impacts and doing the best we can for our communities. Clean energy, I'm doing a bill on behind the meter storage. So think batteries, right? So we have batteries now on homes, on schools, on businesses, on multi-family.
On this call. The county said.
On multifamily housing. And when we shut off the power in August, all of that energy was just sitting there, right? We were doing rolling blackouts, and there's all this clean energy sitting behind the meter, and there's no way to access it on the grid. And so we are doing a bill that would mandate that the PUC create a system to buy and use that clean energy. Stop buying dirty energy from Nevada when it gets hot. Let's use the clean energy that's sitting right here on our grid. And so I'm really excited about that bill. That one has an uphill battle, but it's an effort that I think is really important and that I will continue to work on. By the way, it would reduce your utility rates as well. So that's a win-win, because you should see the price we pay for energy during those spikes, especially when you have spikes across the whole Western United States. And here is energy that is sitting on our grid in our communities that we are just not using. So I think it's a great bill. I introduced a bill to ban neonicotinoids. Now, many of you may not know what neonicotinoids are, but when you hear about the bees in California dying, they're dying because of neonicotinoids. It is in seeds that are planted, and it gets into the bees that pollinate off the plants, and it kills them. And the EU has banned neonicotinoids, and this would mirror the EU ban and allow us to get to a better ecosystem in California. That's a big lift, let me tell you. We got a lot of opposition, but it's really important. So we're gonna take on that fight. And then lastly, for all of us, Tesla Park. It's a fight we're not giving up. We continue to work with the governor's office to try to figure out how we can save Tesla Park and preserve that land. For those that are paying attention, there was an incredible court decision that came out about that beautiful open space in Livermore that said that the state can use the resources in the off-road vehicle fund to preserve that land. And so we are now pushing that. Not only am I saying it, the court has said it. So now we got two branches of government behind us that we should prove that land can be preserved and that it is not a misuse of the funds. So we continue to push on that, and we're going to get that to the finish line. I'm determined. So hopefully this is our moment to do that. So that's a little bit about my legislative package, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I was trying to pay attention to the chat, but I'm sure I didn't catch them all.
Do we want to have people raise their hand so we don't have madness? Raise your hand.
So thank you very much. I just really wanted to thank you, Assemblymember Bauer-Kahan. This is absolutely a game-changing legislative platform. I'm super impressed by everything you've been proposed, and it is transformative. So I'm very grateful to you for doing this. And then, yeah, if people want to ask questions, if you can raise hands so we don't have everyone speaking at once, I would appreciate that. And I do believe we have Ellis first with a question.
First of all, as always, it's great to see you, Rebecca.
Good to see you, Ellis.
So proud of you. You mentioned about the Alameda County DA, Nancy O'Malley, having some purview over PG&E. Does she have any teeth? I don't mean the kind in your mouth, but does that legislation have any teeth? Should the PG&E executives make decisions that Nancy O'Malley's office finds objectionable for whatever reason? What's the recourse?
And maybe
So
get
the
Diana
recourse
back on there too.
Wait, sorry, Sharon. What did Sharon say?
Maybe you can get Diana Becton on that too.
It is, and it went before the DA's Association recently, and they were going to vote on it. Actually, the co-sponsor is the DA up in Paradise, who, because the goal of this legislation is to prevent what happened up there. So he came on as a co-sponsor because he said, I didn't want to go after them after they killed dozens of my residents. I want to go after them before and stop it, right? And that's what this bill is really focused on, is wildfire prevention. So the answer is yes. And I had a call with Edison today in which they were highlighting how strong the teeth were, because the fines are per day violations, which are pretty standard in the regulatory realm, but would add up to a lot of money if they failed to do what they're supposed to do. Now, the good news is we actually just put in, which I think is a good amendment, a right to cure. So when the utility finds out they're in violation, they can cure the violation, which is our goal, right? We're trying to prevent the wildfire. And so if you cure it and fix the problem, we're happy. And then there would be no fine. But if they fail to, the fines are per day, and they could end up being very, very, very expensive.
People on this call pay the fines, not the executives who make the decisions. Let's get that straight. PG&E only has one source of income, and it's us ratepayers. So any fine that you put on PG&E is really a fine on ratepayers rather than the executives who are responsible for the decisions. But that said, this club had a special meeting a couple of weeks ago for a piece of legislation, I forgot the actual number, that said that the qualifications for sheriff should be changed from having several years as a sheriff or a peace officer to anybody who's a citizen of California could run for DA in their county. And I was wondering if you've taken a position on that, and know that the club has taken a position of, yes, we would like that. And you may remember in the last election, the Democrats had no candidate for sheriff. Patrick Veneer looked like a good guy, but didn't have those prerequisites, although he is, as you probably know, a district attorney in Santa Clara. So if you've taken a position on that.
I have not. And is there, I don't think there's pending legislation on that. Is there? That I just don't know about yet?
Yeah, there is.
Helen is shaking her head yes.
I'll get to you and Sean with the actual number.
Got it. No, I mean, I imagine that would come before the Public Safety Committee. So, but it says, I noticed it's a Senate bill. So it has to get through the whole Senate before it gets to us. That's probably why I'm not aware of it yet. But no, I will take a look at that. That's really interesting. And I haven't thought about it, to be honest with you. The same is true in Contra Costa County as well, that they've, not found.
I mean, the problem is that these sheriff candidates run unopposed. Our current sheriff, I think, was first elected in 1996 and has not hit any opposition at all in all of those years.
Interesting. Okay. No, I'll take a look at it. Thanks for pointing it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think do we have any other questions? Otherwise, I will throw this one out and just ask you to look at it as well as another bill that we supported, which is AB 1838. It's the repeal of the ban on sugar-sweetened beverage taxes. So
I just heard about that the other day.
Yeah. So I figure, look it up and then come back to us and let us know if you're a supporter.
Yeah. No, it was, I think Nazarian is involved in that. He brought it up with me and he was telling me, because I wasn't around for the first vote, right, that we're repealing. He was telling me, I need to hear the whole story and get the background. I said, I'd love that. So.
Yeah. He's the sponsor of it, and a friend of mine actually has been the leaders of kind of the push for it. So I'm supporting it. I hope you will, but I won't make you take a stand on the spot.
You now have all learned that I'm a geek who likes to read it first, which I think is a good thing.
Right.
We have another hand raised.
I see Victor's hand is up.
Victor?
His virtual hand.
Yes, my virtual hand. Thank you, Assembly Member. First time hearing you speak, and you were amazing. Great slate of legislative bills. I just had one question in regards to the mediation bill. I didn't catch the number, so if I can get the number, that would be great. And then I just was curious on your reasoning behind that. Has there been a lot of frivolous lawsuits against small businesses? And what does that mean for someone who is filing a lawsuit that they have to go through mediation first? Like, what is the process?
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. That's a great question. I, as a former litigator, am always nervous about it. You know, in every profession, and I'll own in my own, you know, there's good actors and there's not so good actors, right? And when we passed paid family leave bill last year that reduced the number of employees you had to have to require you to give that leave, one of my concerns was that, you know, I represented companies that had the means to hire a lawyer. Right? My local restaurant that has like 5 people working behind the counter doesn't have access to counsel, right? They don't have a lawyer. They can't pay for a lawyer. They don't know what it means to get a demand letter, right? And so my concern was you could really shake these businesses down pretty easily if they don't have lawyers and understand that actually the whole point of this bill was to give people leave. And if you give people leave, you're fine, right? And so we, in the bill last year, negotiated mediation, and it's through the department. So it does not cost anybody anything. It doesn't cost the employer anything, and it doesn't cost the employee anything, which is really important because if you go to private mediation, that's not true. It's very, very expensive. But this is covered by the department. And the goal of this is really the minute the department, I believe, says to these small employers, oh no, this is covered leave, you need to give it to the employee, that these small employers will do it, right? This isn't about shaking anybody down or anybody getting in trouble. It's about ensuring people have the right to take the leave they needed. And it's pretty expansive, right? I mean, it wasn't just your blood relatives, right? That if you're a caregiver of someone in a long-term relationship, you might be covered, right? And so a small employer wouldn't understand that or have the HR department to deal with that. So the mediation really gave a framework, I believed, that that provided both employers and employees with the access to know their rights and then work it out without having to go to court. Now, if they don't work it out, they get to go to court and they get to sue, right? So it's just a first step, and it's in order to go to court on one of these claims, you have to get a right to sue letter from the department anyways. So you kind of have to go through the department. So this is just a step before you would go. Currently, it's not mandatory. You can get that right to sue letter without going to mediation. And this would just say, let's do that mediation first. Let's try to resolve this easily and quickly and with low cost and get the worker the leave they need and ensure the employer doesn't have to spend all this money on lawyers. And if that doesn't work, then you can go to court. So we're trying to make it as easy and quick and the notice really clear so that it won't get in the way of a lawsuit if it was needed, but that we're preventing lawsuits that may come. I don't have any evidence that that would happen, but I don't think there's a downside to this. It's also quicker. I mean, a lawsuit takes years, and that's not what we want. We don't want people languishing in court. We want them getting their rights. So
thank you.
That's the goal. And the number. I'm really bad at the numbers. I confess to all of you right
I dropped it in the chat for
great.
you. So that one's AB 1033, and the link that I put in there goes directly to the bill. So any of the bills on the Ledge Info website, whether it's the assembly members or others, you can also track. So you can keep track of the status of the bill as it moves through the legislature.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you again for filling us in. Like I said, a very exciting platform. I had one last question for you because it did sort of come up, and you could give us some insight on this. As these bills are coming along and from different sponsors, if we wanted to bring one to your attention, or if one of your bills we wanted to bring to other people's attention to support it, what do you think the best way to go about that is?
So if you have a bill idea, we actually do have a link on our website that allows you to submit. It ought to be a law, is what it's called. It's like an ought to be a law link, which Sean, I don't know if you want to help drop it in, but you can actually submit it. And my ledge director reviews all of those and we talk about them. And so that is a great way. And, you know, if you want a meeting on that, we can do that as well to talk more about it. But we do review them, and we have carried, like I said, I mean, I'm carrying this bill that came out of one of my staff members. Some of you may remember the bill that we did a couple of years ago on peanut allergies, on ensuring that restaurant workers are aware of those deadly allergens and are trained on how to handle it, which came out of a family in Danville, right, that had had a really bad experience with their daughter. And so we do actually, you know, my conversation with Town Hall turned into AB 988, right? So we are really listening to the community and what it is you want to see. Not everything, I have to be honest, we do get a lot of ideas. I don't know, I'm giving the examples of the ones that did become bills. But, you know, we do listen and, you know, look into it. And so it is worth, if you have an idea, talking to me, or sometimes there's, you know, we've also done, I have colleagues who specialize in certain areas, right? I don't do a ton of work, you know, in certain areas because it's not where I'm comfortable per se, and my colleagues do, and that's the beauty of a legislature. So sometimes we'll say, this is a really good idea. There's actually this legislature who might be really interested, and sometimes we can refer you. And we've gotten bills that way, actually. Someone who's come to another legislature is like, oh, RBK does this, you know, let's send this her way. So we do work together sometimes to place bills. And then if there's a bill that's in process that you want to support, there's a couple ways. If you write in through our web form or call in, then it automatically, it's amazing. I've actually been in meetings and shown people this, and it's very cool. So when I am looking at a piece of legislation on my iPad, there's a tab that says constituents, and I click on it and it shows me every single one of you by name who called for and against. So when I'm reviewing legislation, I have at my fingertips what you've called about and how many of you have called. So it's actually an amazing system that works, and we all look at it and it gives us real time. So that's really helpful, and that will happen if you call in or if you use the web form. It's more work for Sean and the team. If you call in, the web form automatically puts it there, but we love your calls, so call in. So that's a really easy way, and you get counted. Like, here's the web form, Sean says. So that's really, it's helpful. And, you know, it's funny because not many people call on bills, I'll tell you. So if we get 100 people on a bill, it takes me aback. Like, that doesn't happen very often. And so it really indicates to me, wow, this is something my constituents are really paying attention to. And I look deeper, and it does influence me. So please do that. I recommend that. Now, if you have more than that, right, you want to do more than just say I'm for or against this, then, you know, feel free to ask for a meeting. I try to meet with all the constituents who ask. That isn't, depending on the time of year and what's going on in Sacramento, but sometimes that's challenging, but my staff sometimes takes those meetings and briefs me. But we do love hearing from all of you. So, you know, you can call. And then if you have one of my bills, for example, you don't need to call me, I'm carrying it, you know, I'm going to support it. But let's say you love this neonicotinoid ban. Okay. You're like super passionate about the bees, like I am, then we're going to need help on that, right? Like, I'm going to need certain members to support that bill to get it through, right? It's going through Dr. Quirk's committee. You probably have friends in Dr. Quirk's district, right? In Alameda County. So, you know, it's really helpful sometimes for me to say, like, I need you to get all your friends calling Dr. Quirk. And again, if like 60 people call, we notice, because that's how few people tend to write in or call. So that's really helpful, right? If you have connections in other districts on a bill and you can get their constituents to call, that's really impactful. And like I said, it doesn't take many to really make a difference.
Awesome. That's excellent advice. And I'm looking forward to us actually enacting it. So make sure if there's bills that you loved on the list, you know, spread the word about them. If there's other bills that you think are really important, you know, send the information over, use the web form, or if you want, call, but use the web form is clearly the preference. So make sure you get that information over. I just want to thank you for coming out. I want to remind all our members, you know, if you want to support Assemblymember Bauer-Kahan, please go to her website. I encourage you to donate. I don't know what specific hat you're wearing right now, so I'm not going to ask you to say anything on this. But I encourage you to go to her website, learn more about her, support her if you can. She's been wonderful to our club and longtime supporter of the club, and has been here since before she was a member of the Assembly. So really appreciate everything you've done for us. And thank you for spending your evening with us. Thank you for all the information.
Well, thank you all. I mean, Alice will know, as many of you know, this was the first club that would come out for me, that really took a step out and endorsed me when nobody else wanted to take a stand. And, you know, I know you did the same for the congressman. And so you have a reputation for it. And it's really, it's bold and it's brave and it's meaningful, and I won't forget it. So thank you.
Thank you.
You made my day.
Thank you.
Oh, and Jeff, is it something quick?
Wait, he took his mute off.
Accidental. It was excellent. I just want to thank the assembly member. She hasn't already dropped off. But no,
Oh, no,
I
I'm
raised
here.
my hand by accident.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. And then thank you. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you would like. It's absolutely a pleasure, but I know you're
Awesome.
busy, so your choice.
I haven't had dinner. I'm gonna go eat dinner. But thank you guys.
Well, thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Bye. All right. So with that, we're going to move on to a couple of other items on the agenda. Let me pull up my agenda really quick. First of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about the chairs, and I wanted to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves to you. And I'm going to do something a little bit different, and depending on how this goes, we might add it into the bylaws in the future. We'll see. We're going to talk about that as well. But basically, I want to just give some of my vision on how to kind of manage the club, as well as some of what I've been doing on that, and then we'll get more into it in the future. So the basics of it is, my vision for the club is to have a variety of chairs that are basically serving functions such as an issues chair or an elections chair or a local legislative chair, recruitment, things like that, hospitality. And each of those chairs will be kind of the contact point for if you had issues, you'd want to bring it to the issues chair if there's something really important that you wanted to bring to the club. And this kind of keeps it from me getting deluged in emails about a whole wide variety of things. And so we'll have a pretty easy way for you to find out things. And then it also gives some latitude for the different chairs to really work to help get people more involved, to really lift them up and empower them to start working more on those different things. And so it kind of works with a bunch of smaller bodies that we're empowering to do the activities that they really would like to focus on. So it's going to require, a lot of collaboration, a lot of working together. It's going to take some time to get the final setup all together. But I do have a few people who volunteered to help out, and I am always looking for more volunteers, whether it's as a chair or just to work on an item. Anything you can do to help, it is always useful to have a robust club that really is member driven. I really want to make sure that what we're doing comes from you, not from me. And so the more that you're involved, the more you can help out, the better. I'm putting a Google Doc. I've put it out a couple of times already, but if there's anything you want to work on, it's a short form that lets you give me your contact information, and either myself or one of the chairs will reach out to you, probably myself at this point, and then I'll connect you with the chairs just to talk about how you can get more involved. So if you're interested, please fill that form out. With that, I just want to introduce who we have currently volunteering to help out as chairs. I'm going to go through, just introduce them, and I'm going to give them just a moment to say hello if you want, a 30-second introduction. I don't expect you to go through all the details as we're still sorting some of this out, like I said. But I want to start with Sharon, who is our current hospitality chair and has served as our hospitality chair in the past. So she helps us with organizing events. And Sharon, would you like to say a quick hello? You're muted right now.
He's controlling the computer.
Go ahead, you're unmuted.
Hi, everybody. If anybody wants to help doing hospitality, either helping at meetings when we have meetings or helping at gatherings, if we have barbecues or a holiday party or whatever, or anybody has any suggestions as to any get-togethers, let me know. We'll work together.
Okay, I'd like to sign up to be a strong member of the hospitality committee.
Okay, Ron. Van. Okay, thank you. And if you have any ideas of things that we can do, let me know.
Okay.
Ideas.
And that was Ron. Was that Ron or Van?
Ron.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
And for anyone who doesn't have contact information, you can also reach me anytime, email me and I'll connect you with any chairs if you need that as well. So Ellis, just briefly, as the outgoing president and current webmaster, I don't know, we don't have like a real title for him yet, but Ellis has been the Evan mentorship chair, we'll put it as that for right now, has really been helping us a lot. So Ellis, would you like to just say a quick hello?
Well, I haven't turned webmaster. I was a webmaster before I was president of the club. And I'm the only one that's ever touched our website as far as changing it. But there's a committee in place to replace our current website with something that maybe looks more modern. And I'm working with them. But there's a second thing that I ought to mention. There's something called the club's console.
I was just going to say that.
That is, I'm tempted to call it an organization, but it's really not organized. We really don't have rules or a charter. And before the pandemic, we were meeting once a month for the last, I think, about 8 years. And recently we were meeting at Rossmore. John Hall was the chairman of the club's council, calling the meetings and setting up the agenda. And it was more like a bunch of club presidents having coffee with each other. There's a new chair to the club's council, me.
Right.
So me and Sue Hamill is running the kind of the membership of it. And what I'm thinking about doing is, rather than the event bulletin coming out of the Tri-Valley Club, I curtailed that when the pandemic happened, because you can't really invite people to other people's club meetings. You can't just give out the Zoom information haphazardly. So I stopped sending out the event bulletin except for our meetings. And what I'm going to suggest to the other club presidents is that we have a Google sheet, a spreadsheet that each of the clubs can post when their meetings are, who to contact about getting Zoom info, and who the speakers are going to be, or what the entertainment is at that particular meeting. And my plan is to get the other club presidents to agree to that. Evan agreed to let me represent the club at the club's council, although Evan said that he's going to attend some of the meetings anyway.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, as you said, you'll be representing, but I'll try to make as many as I can. So next up, that segues perfectly into our new digital communications chair. She's in charge of getting our social media as well as fixing up the website, and generally is going to be working on our digital communications platform, getting the message out to everyone. And that is Sarah, if you'd like to just give a brief hello.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. As Evan mentioned, I'll be doing some digital communication stuff for the club, but by no means am I doing it alone. I'm working with a team of several other members of the club to get an Instagram presence, as well as Ellis mentioned, an updated website, etc. So if any of you are ever interested in learning more about or getting involved with our digital communications, whether it be through email, social media, whatever, just get in touch with me through Evan, and I'd be happy to meet with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, I want to introduce our issues chair. Van is going to be working on, if there are specific topics or areas of focus you'd like to work on, he'll be helping get information to the club on any national or local issues that are coming up. So Van,
on a national level, there's going to be a continued focus on voter suppression efforts in various states, and that's going to be coordinated primarily through groups like Swing Left. On a statewide level, Indivisible is already choosing particular pieces of legislation that they're going to be going after. But the important thing to recognize about state legislation is that we're entering into the fast and furious season when committee hearings are going to be scheduled. And that's really the most important place to make an impact on your support or protesting any particular piece of legislation as they come forward. And so that sort of thing is going to be monitored a little more closely as we move into the sessions. And like Rebecca said tonight, there are going to be a couple of issues that she sponsored coming up before committees. And so hopefully we'll be able to get the word out on some of those issues. And if any of them are of particular interest, you can, get in contact with me and I can start channeling any interest and effort in supporting or protesting any particular legislation that people may have. On a local basis, it's pleasantly quiet for the most part, but give us another year and we're going to be looking at local candidates venturing forth and seeking, public office. So keep tuned on those counts.
Thank you. And then Dan's counterpart on the very local level of cities, the cities side, is going to be Asa, who's our new local legislative chair. If anyone can come up with a better name for that committee, I'm open to better names. But basically the idea would be Asa will be chairing a committee which is going to have representatives from each city kind of following along on what's happening at council and school boards and bringing back important issues that happen at that local level to us. So Asa, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Asa Strout, and I currently live in Livermore and have ran for public office unsuccessfully, but that doesn't matter at this point. Just to jump into really quickly what the purpose of this group is, specifically to really focus on that local level. And so there's like the Venn diagram of responsibility, where we focus on the issues at the local level, and we have representatives from each city, ideally more than just one. We're shooting for 2 or 3 because then there's less work per person. But the idea behind the club is to ensure that all of our members are really up to date on all of the issues that are either upcoming or have already been voted on at city council meetings for a couple of reasons. One is to really, get us all aware so we can either make the decision to rather press an issue that's about to be voted on, or create more community activism within the cities. So trying to get like these issues that are hot button issues that really align with our democratic values for the club, and then present them to the club and say, we think that this is an issue that we should support as a club, and hopefully go for some endorsements and this, that, and the other. And we're still working out the exact, goals and framework of how we're going to do it. But, right now it's myself kind of working with Livermore, another member who has volunteered, who's on the meeting, Kunal, and he can introduce himself in a second as well, really quick, or just wave. He's going to be working mostly with Dublin. And then we have another individual, Monith, who's going to be Pleasanton. So the idea is to kind of, again, keep aware of it. But ideally, we would have more and more people. And we're actually really lucky that we have some elected officials that are members of the club. So this is actually a really good committee for you to just kind of like jump into and just update us on your job and give us some insight of like what's coming up, how, if you think that you want some more support for something that you're pushing, you can present it to the committee or the club, and we can go from there. So, I know we have got some school board members on the call today, so we'd really appreciate your help there because it'd make all of our lives a little easier so we can all spread the work out. But one of the goals of this is also increase the influence of the club itself. By being more involved in local politics, our local politicians will have a more focus on what our club has to say. Taking the influence that we already have and just like trying to crank it up to 11 in terms of the local influence there. And then hopefully get more and more local officials to join the club and present. We do a really good job at the county and up level, but we don't really have a lot of local elected officials join our club too much.
All right, thank you very much. And then last up, in order to get all this to happen, we of course need members, and we need to build our roster so that we can have further influence throughout the region. And Samir has volunteered to be the new recruitment and membership chair to really help build up our ranks and help get our voice heard by more people. So Samir, if you would like to introduce yourself really quick.
Great. Well, thank you, Evan, for nominating me, and great to be here to help the team. So I think, first thing, we know there are a few thousand Democrats in the Tri-Valley, or I hope it's not just a few hundred, right? So how do we try to get some of them to start joining our club and getting them to be informed of what we're doing? There's some great information shared today by Rebecca and other folks. So my take would be, let's try to start local, just grassroots. So we have about 27 people on this call today. Why don't we all actually, hopefully we could bring one person next meeting. If we could convince one person to come next meeting and listen to the club meeting and become a member, that's just a slow start. But we're going to grow more. I'm going to work with Sarah with her digital communication. I think we could definitely run some campaigns to kind of inform through using social media and other ways to say, how do we go and inform people that, hey, we have a club in Tri-Valley, you should come and join, and start to bring awareness. I think awareness will bring more members will bring more activities, and more information will get out. So let's try to, let's set our goal to bring one person that to our next meeting. So, instead of having 27 members attend this meeting, let's try to shoot for at least 60 people attend next meeting. Is that fair? Can I ask everybody's commitment to ask one friend, just one friend? Not asking you to ask two people, all right? Not your wife or your daughter or kid, son, one friend who's not a member, okay, to come to this meeting. One new member, okay? And remember, they don't have to pay, like Evan said, they don't need to pay right away. Just come and see the value of getting the information.
I'm gonna have to make it.
Okay, so you're gonna want to do these things. That's great.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
So I know you didn't expect to get homework, but now you have it. Please, as Samir asked, just bring a friend.
Just one. That's it. Thank you.
One. So with that, I am going to do things a little different, like I said. So I am going to ask actually to get a vote to just approve my chair members. So I think just as a new practice, that person I think is important, is I think that it shouldn't be 100% my decision. So we'll treat this kind of like Congress, I guess, that I propose this as the chairs that I would like. I think they're a great team. I really hope you all think after hearing from them, they're a great team. And so I'm going to put forward that they're, the chairs of these committees. You all have the opportunity now to help them as these chairs. And so if anyone has opposition or wants to pull anyone, speak now. Otherwise, I'm going to call a vote. All in favor?
Everybody first unmute themselves. I think everybody's on. Let's unmute. I'll try to help.
Hi, Evan. I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Jamie. So I move that we accept all of Evan's recommendations for chairpersons.
I second. Sean.
Thank you. So that's a motion by Jamie and a second by Sean. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Perfect. Then it passes. There are new chairs for the new committees. And to remind everyone, first of all, thank you to my new chairs for stepping up, because this is, a big responsibility. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for supporting them. If you, again, would like to sign up just on the docs, you can email me also, get in contact, whatever works best. But if you want to, that's just a Google Doc for putting in contact information. It helps me keep organized. So with that, I want to move on to our next item, which is thanking Congressman Swalwell for his work after the Capitol riots on impeachment. So you've all been sent you were sent with the agenda a letter. I will put the letter again in.
It's on the invitation.
It was on there, but I will send you, let me post the link. Sorry, I should have had it copied already. Here's a link to the letter. And so we want to thank Swalwell for his work on the after the Capitol riots, and really just making sure to maintain the rule of law. As a club, we have said before how important we think it is that we hold people accountable for their actions. And so while there was not the vote for removal, there was a vote for the second impeachment, as well as continuation of suits being brought against the former president. With that, we basically would like to send this letter to him, as well as accompany with that, I'll be picking up a bottle of wine from a local vineyard or local winery, just as a small token of the club's appreciation. And so if we have, if everyone has a chance to review that, review the letter, if it is approved, or if there's any questions, I'm open to that. But I'd also
this week, Swalwell came under fire from Leo McCarthy about this whole thing with the Kevin McCarthy, excuse me, about this thing where this Chinese agent worked for his campaign. The FBI came along and told him that she's a Chinese agent. He
did not work for his campaign.
Off all contact with her at that point, but they're raising a stink about that. There's really no there, but it would be nice if we included in this letter support for him relative to that particular issue, that we have the utmost faith that he did not do anything wrong. And they're looking to throw him off the Intelligence Committee because of this Chinese spy who was working in his campaign for a while.
He did not work in his campaign. I just want to make sure there's no misinformation being spread around.
Well, she was raising money.
She didn't work on.
No.
No, she didn't work on anybody's campaign.
No, she's a foreign national that was
Yeah.
collecting intelligence on
Anyway, it's to use a Trump term, it's a nothing burger. But if there's some way we could say something about this in the letter to Congressman Swalwell, just encouraging him.
Since there's no there,
we have his back.
Since there's no there, why don't we simply stipulate that we fully support his continued presence on the intelligence and what was the other committee it was on? Judiciary. So, let's make a stronger position on, in support of his position there.
I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. That's a good idea, Van, and just don't even mention the Asian thing because there's so much attention about Asian bashing right now. Let's just not even bring that up because this has a fringe tinge of that a little bit, in my opinion. But just Van's got a great idea. Just focus on what we support him on.
Van, can you repeat that language for the letter?
It was just to say that we'll add in a sentence saying that we continue to support his service on the Judiciary and Intelligence Committee.
Fully and strongly support.
Yeah.
Fully and strongly support.
Yeah.
I have a comment also. If we're going to modify what exists right now in a well-written letter, and I'm not sure that we do want to, but it sounds like we may want to add the support for his continued existence on the two committees. Maybe we will also want to congratulate him and reinforce the fact that we're behind him for the civil lawsuit that he's filed against Trump. This is
That's
a
what's
bold
mentioned
move.
in there.
And this is relatively new since the time that you started writing this thank you to him. He's stepped forward and is taking a bold move, which exposes him even more in the time of crisis that he's experiencing for this Asian spy. So if we want to modify it, I would also suggest that we add the thank you and the encouragement and the support for him to continue his civil lawsuits against Trump.
We've already added that into the current draft of the letter that was linked.
Cool.
So we're already there.
But Evan, I do support Ron's. I mean, Ron is so good with wordsmithing. We might want to have him look at that as well and see what other. He's so good.
Yeah, I think
a lot better.
If I were to phrase a motion or to suggest one, perhaps, would be to approve as a club to send the letter to Swalwell with the modifications suggested, pending the executive committee looking over it and basically getting the final say. So the executive committee can wordsmith these things, and that would put us as a chance to make sure that the grammar is correct, but the meaning stays the same.
Cool.
So if anyone would like to make that motion, I'm open.
So
to it.
moved.
Oh, all right. A motion by Jeff
Second.
and a second by Van.
Who was that
All in
first?
favor? Oh, it was Jeff.
Jeff.
Is yeah. And Van was the second.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? And abstentions? Perfect. So then let me double check my agenda before jumping the gun or anything. So that brings us to the new business and announcements. So if anyone has any new business or announcements, if you can throw up your hand, and I'd be happy to hear, or also if there are items you want to see on a future agenda.
I've got one question, Evan. Is there any way that we can basically send out information efficiently? Should we be using the website for notifications of committee hearings on issues that are coming up?
Yeah, so currently email is really the only communication tool we have between meetings. And so we'll use that when we need to, but I try not to send too many emails personally. We're trying to get it streamlined so that hopefully soon there will be a way that social media and websites are all updated regularly, and anyone who has issues that they would like put on can basically reach out to the chairs or myself and get it, spread throughout the entirety of the club easily. If there's anything you want emailed out, if there's anything that's pressing time-wise that you need emailed out, let me know. Right now, it would be to let me know. In the future, it'll be through Sarah, and digital media will all be clumped together. But currently, I'm writing the emails. So when you see typos, it's all me.
Hey, how many people are in the club anyway, members? I'm just curious.
Alan, do you have the most recent numbers?
Yeah, sorry, I should have said that before. Our total members now are 107. There are still 39 people who have not renewed.
Awesome. Thank you.
And that compares to 74 last year at this time.
Oh, wow.
To answer Van's question about the chairs of the committee, currently on the About Us page is contact information for me and for Evan. If the chairs are agreeable to that, we can put up contact information for the chairs on the About Us page also. So if a member wants to, okay, I see your thumbs up. Asa, are you up for that? Asa?
Yeah.
Yes? Is it okay to put your contact information, phone number and email address on the website? On
just
the
my email,
About?
just my email address.
Okay, so Asa is just email, no phone number.
So we
And-
should send it to you then.
Okay, so, and
Yeah, well,
Sharon,
we'll email all the chairs, but it sounds like at least some of them are interested. So we'll figure out what contact information they specifically want offline. But that's a good idea. So we'll get the chair information onto the website as well. So if you need to contact them, and of course, hopefully everyone has my email as well, but there you go, if you don't. And it's on the website as well, and it's always available. Any other announcements?
So, Evan, this is Samir. I saw earlier Supervisor Halbert joined this call, and I think he dropped off. So I was just wondering, he's now become a new supervisor in his post, and that touches all our cities that we are part of. So maybe it would be worth for him to come by one day, talk about what his big initiatives are, or kind of share what his first 100 days or so, or whatever the number has been, just curious. And we also have new mayor in Dublin, and I think Livermore. So I think it would be good to get these speakers to come in to talk about what they're doing and just share that.
Yeah, sounds great. And we also
this is Jamie. I just wanted to point out that Halbert does not represent Pleasanton. Nate Miley
okay, that's right.
represents Pleasanton. However, it is currently not a Democrat. So do we,
Oh, yeah.
are non-Democrats allowed to attend club meetings? Just asking. I don't have a problem with it, but just wondering and just want to make sure everybody's on the same page about that.
So on that, as far as speaking goes, I think we need to have a longer conversation on if we're inviting no party preference to speak at the clubs. And I think in 5 minutes left of the meeting, we'll table that for the moment. And we'll talk with
Or
the
maybe
executive committee first.
yeah, or maybe, yeah, your executive committee can talk about that and maybe make a recommendation. That'd be super awesome and save us a bunch of time.
Yeah,
Yep.
as far as general attendance goes, the club is open for anyone to attend if they want to, as long as they're respectful. So anyone is welcome to join the meeting and listen to what we have to say, regardless of party preference. However, if someone comes in to Zoom bomb or to be disrespectful to our club, that would be different. It is a private club. We're allowed to ask people to leave, and we're allowed to actually, with Zoom, it's easy to kick someone out if they're being rude. So attendance, all are welcome. Anyone is welcome to come to our club. As far as speaking goes, we'll have a longer conversation about that, because there are many local offices are nonpartisan, and many of them are held by no party preference people. So I do think we should have that conversation. But the executive committee will discuss that and come back with a recommendation.
And Evan, I just want to remind folks that anything that is said on here is public, because we do post to YouTube as a public. So everything is available to the public. We post to the public. We invite the public. But we do have the ability going forward, once we set up our new Zoom account, which is shortly, we can always change these invites to register if you'd like a little more security, so we know who is coming ahead of time, so we don't have surprise visitors. We can do that. It's open. I'll just leave that open. And then as far as future meetings, like I mentioned, and I talked to you about this, I'd love to see some of the central committee members represent the political report until we get our charter all squared away. I'm officially not supposed to even be saying anything at those meetings until we get our charter. So I think it would be nice to hear from our represented members. So I hope to hear from them from the political report the next couple months. Maybe we can get them.
Just to clarify, you're hoping particularly for the elected members from our district, is that?
Correct, Jeff and Roberta and folks, all our central
That would be great.
I don't think anyone takes as thorough of notes as you do, Jackie. So I think you're doing a great job there. That would mean we would all have to pay attention as much as you do.
Well, but I may be misreading, like Jeff pointed out. So it's always good to get members' perspective.
And then
3 cheers
Sean,
for the hardworking Jackie.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 cheers for Jackie.
Sean, you would be the person I talk to. You're our district rep, correct?
Right. So I'm the district vice chair to the central committee. But I think every member is a member of this club as well. So we could always have different members come and speak to any of the agenda item. The other thing I want to mention is that your members on central committee can also bring things forward from your club. So if you have ideas for resolutions, if you want us to champion one of Rebecca's legislation and get the central committee to endorse it, we can do that. So just let us know if there's anything you want us to take up at the central committee.
Yeah, you can count on me pushing for AB 988.
Yeah, let's talk. I'm going to be submitting some bills over to the legislative committee for consideration.
Yeah.
And also
great.
I want to remind you, Evan, that I'm the central committee representative Glacier. So.
Oh, right. Because we have quite a number of members who are on the central committee, which is awesome. So definitely, I would love to talk with, as a side thing, and we'll take this online. But I'd love to talk with all of our central committee, all the members who are represented on the central committee, just so we can kind of streamline that. But that would be a conversation for another time. And then Sean, you can you can connect me with everyone, right? Just in case I'm not sure the
Yeah.
whole roster.
And I don't know if there's ever any interest. I'd be happy to do kind of a Democratic Party orientation. I know it's
Yeah.
quite confusing. There's all these different layers to it and different
Yes.
caucuses.
I was
and
gonna ask.
organizations.
Yes.
The region.
That's what,
Sean. Yes,
please,
Sean. Yes, do it.
All right. So I'd be
yeah.
happy to put that together for a program, Evan. I mean, you know, maybe like 15, 20 minutes, something like that.
Okay. Sounds great. Yeah, let's talk. Let's meet up somewhere, and we'll chat about this more. All
Awesome.
right.
And
Oh, go ahead.
Evan, I was gonna say the most important thing, you know, you need to share some new recipes with this group. You know, last time you did was in December. So, you know, we need you to kind of bring forward some of your best to us.
Sounds like a one-page item.
I think that's more important than all that other stuff, you know?
We do now open up for a little half-hour pre-meeting. So anyone who would like to, if you'd like to come to socialize before the meeting, I might throw in a couple of little recipes in there during the social half hour. And when we meet up in person again, I will make something for all of you.
Yeah, you should talk to the person who puts together the agenda. Just put 30 minutes on the social hour. So.
Yeah, it was a little bit last minute that we added it for this month, but it'll be a standing item going forward. So anyone who wants to join in, just 6:30, we'll be here just chatting about all the things that are not Democrat Party politics. So with that, if there's any other announcements, but seeing none, thank you all for coming out tonight and have a wonderful evening. The meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Good job, Evan.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bob Naylor around? No,
Yeah, Bob Nell is, well, I don't know if he's around.
Yeah,
I get everybody.
Bob Nell was on.